Detroit Lions rumors today in this video. A lot to cover. Athletic dropped a article, very interesting, talking about what the Lions could do, potentially trading up in the draft to get a blue chip player. Could the Lions legitimately go offense at 18? And I'm not just talking about a guard, but maybe running back or tight end. We're going to get into Matt Miller's mock draft, go over it, give you my thoughts, and CBS Sports drop some love for our Detroit Lions. But if you're a fan of the Detroit Lions and you love the latest news and rumors, then you need to subscribe to the channel because that's all I do. I drop everything Detroit Lions on here, and it's 24/7, 365. So even with the season's over, you're still getting some good old Detroit Lions information. So could the Detroit Lions legitimately trade up in the NFL draft? Well, according to The Athletic, it is possible. And if you do look at Brad Holmes, per Colton Pouncy, Brad Holmes has been shown that he will trade up. Matter of fact, in the Penei Sewell draft, he nearly traded up to get Penei Sewell. Obviously, last year, we traded up to go ahead and select Jameson Williams. And in The Athletic, in the article, they're talking about the Lions trading up from 6 to pick 3. That would be with the Arizona Cardinals, potentially selecting players Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. So what would it cost for the Detroit Lions to jump up from 6 to 3? Well, Colton thinks it would cost the Detroit Lions, obviously, pick 6. But it would cost the Lions their first second-round pick 49. And obviously the targets would be with the two blue-chip defensive players here. That would be Will Anderson and Jalen Carter. They are both dynamic players that would change the defense in a positive way. Will Anderson's the best edge rusher in this year's draft. This guy can get it done on the line. And if you paired him up with Aiden Hutchinson, you would have a ruthless from hell edge rushers coming at the quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins or Karen Rodgers if he's here, and Justin Fields. It would be ridiculous for sure if they wanted to go that route, but also you got Jalen Carter, who is my number 1 prospect in this year's draft. Now, he's number 3 in other mock drafts and number 2 in other big boards, but for me, he's number 1. I think if you were to get him on this defensive line, it would be absolutely scary. You would have your enforcer there, your Aaron Donald. You would have your Ndamukong Suh next to Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, you got James Houston and Romeo Okwara on this defensive line. The Detroit Lions would be looking like a much improved defensive line like they've built with the offensive line. They have shown the ability to build through the trenches and bring a team that's physical at the line of scrimmage. If you're looking to make a big splash move, it would be to get one of those players, like a Jalen Carter, like a Will Anderson. I think they both would fit well in Detroit, just depending the route you want to go with. Will Anderson is absolutely a stud. He is. And now I do have him as number 2 ranked prospect. I would absolutely understand the Detroit Lions wanting to go that route for sure, because he could be a player the Detroit Lions feel he's an anchor to this defensive line, just like Penei Sewell is an anchor on the offensive line, just like Aiden Hutchinson is an anchor on the defensive line. But he wants talented players. He wants dynamic players. And that's what these two would bring. It would bring dynamic play to the Lions' defensive line. But then you got to understand, for his trade scenario, giving up your first, second-round pick is a potential starter for the Detroit Lions. You got Joshua Pascal, who you got in the second round this last year's draft. Before that is Levi Onwuzurike. Now, I do understand. You're like, Mike, it is a second-round draft pick. We are butt cheeks in the second round drafting players. We have the second-round curse. I feel you. But I do think that is something that Brad Holmes could change. I think Pascal is going to be a damn good player. And if you look in mock drafts, you can see plenty of talent like Noah Sewell, Jack Campbell falling in that round, players like Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback, falling. You could see running backs for sure, players that could help this team out, maybe even a guard for the Detroit Lions that would be a starter. A lot of starters in that second round. So, yes, you're getting a premium talent in one of these guys, but you're also missing out on getting a starter potentially for the Detroit Lions. But I want you to answer this question. Would you move up to get Jalen Carter or Will Anderson in this trade scenario, giving up that second round draft pick? Give me the answers of why not that you would do it, or hell no if you wouldn't do it. Let me know in the comments below. He also talks about drafting a guard at pick 18. The Detroit Lions could do that. I actually think this is legitimate. I'm going to give it 2 Detroit Lions logos here and say, hell yes, it's possible. They could definitely do that. Why? Because we don't know what's going on with Halapoulivaati Vaitai. Will he be cut to save money? Potentially. Will he be healthy if they stay them? We don't know. Can you rely on Big V in 2023/2024? So what would the target be if they wanted to go guard with pick 18? Well, his name is O'Cyrus Torrence. He is the number 2 rated offensive lineman in this draft, and he so happens to be a guard at Florida, where Brad Holmes did scout and go there. I think if the Lions went guard at 18, I wouldn't be upset. You're making this offensive line one of the best offensive lines in football by adding another talented player to that line that you can rely on. Imagine the amount of time Jared Goff is standing in the pocket. Imagine the ruthless aggression upon running the football. Everybody there would be a stud. Hell, the whole damn offensive line, besides Jonah Jackson, would be a first-rounder. Taylor Decker, first-rounder. Frank Ragnow, first-rounder. You would have Torrance, first-rounder. Penei Sewell, first-rounder. That would be absolutely balls ridiculous if they decided to go that route. I think it's possible. I do, because I still think that our general manager, Brad Holmes, does BPA. And if they feel he's BPA, why not? I still think defense is probably more of a priority, but I'm not going to be upset if they wanted to go that route. I wouldn't be. Another player that they said potentially could be, or a position that could be, would be the running back position. High, he states. High. Well, if you're going to go high, that potentially could be at pick 18, or obviously in the second round. We all know who would be there if it was 18. It'd be Bijan Robinson, the best running back in this year's draft. Again, I wouldn't be upset if the Lions went a running back, specifically Robinson, because you're giving your offense and Jared Goff a dynamic running back. But what if he's not talking about with pick 18 because he says high in the draft? Well, there's other players that you could look at high. We're talking second rounders here. Jahmyr Gibbs, who I did have in my latest mock draft going to the Detroit Lions. You can see maybe a second round prospect for there. Zach Charbonnet, I've talked about and had him on in a other mock draft out of UCLA, the big back there, and I think he would fit well with the Detroit Lions, a physical guy. And Zach Evans, the running back from Ole Miss, is another target, potentially, if he's available in the second round. So I do think it's possible, and I honestly would give this a 3 Lions logos to go running back there at pick 18 or in the second round, because they're looking at BPA. And that's why you've seen mock drafts for mine specifically there at pick 18, or most likely second round draft pick. But what about drafting a tight end? He says the Lions could draft a tight end high, whether it be pick 18 or in this case second round. What do I think? I give this bad boy 0 Lions logo. 0. I have a hard time believing they're going to do that because we drafted James Mitchell last year. Because we have good tight ends like Brock Wright, who you can bring back. Shane Zylstra, who did good. And when the Detroit Lions went away from TJ Hawkinson, they got better. It's factual. But you want to know what? I still don't believe it. I don't believe they're going that route, and it's hard for me to change my opinion on this bad boy. But if you want an opinion to get from me, how about you go to chessports.com/linesbet. Put in the promo code LIONS125. You get a 125% deposit bonus. We got the Super Bowl coming up this week. Right now, Eagles are favored by 1. I think they're going to win by more than that. 49.5 is the point spread. And with these offenses, I think it's going to be more. So you can win some money, and it's better than going to a casino and a lottery ticket. Let's go ahead and get into Matt Miller's mock draft. It was talked about a lot yesterday by Mike Valenti and others as well. So I want to give you my thoughts on this. He goes round 1, pick 6, Devin Witherspoon. I could see a situation where that's possible. I know Mike Valenti was upset about it, but I can see it's a BPA is possible there. Preferably, I may want to go Myles Murphy, but I'm not going to be upset if they go Devin Witherspoon. He's a dynamic cornerback, physical, exactly what the Detroit Lions go there. So I want to be upset. Lucas Van Ness, edge out of Iowa. I think that's a little bit high. I have him rated as a second-round prospect. Personally, that's what I have, so I kind of question that a little bit. Sam Laporta, tight end from Iowa at 48, I think is ridiculous. I do. I don't like this selection here by Matt Miller. And Jahmyr Gibbs, running back from Alabama, which I did have in my latest mock draft. And I don't think that's a reach because you do need a running back. Still, I would probably go if Myles Murphy's there over Devin Witherspoon. But if they went Devin Witherspoon, I'm not going to be mad. So I'm not upset with that pick. Lucas Van Ness, I think it's a little bit of a reach. Laporta, bad one. But everybody has their own feelings on mock drafts. And so, he put his name out there, put it out there. I give this one a C- personally. Let me know in the comment section what you have for this mock draft. CBS Sports showing some love to our good old players, our rookie players, and they had Aiden Hutchinson as the best pass rusher in this year's draft, and they had Malcolm Rodriguez as the most reliable linebacker in this year's draft. And this is what he said here. We're talking about Chris Trapasso. He says Hutchinson took some time to acclimate to the pro game. Then he started rushing the quarterback like he was in the Big Ten. From week 7 on, Hutchinson registered multiple pressures in every single game throughout the rest of the season, and that included 7 games with 3 or more pressures. Goes on with Malcolm Rodriguez was very reliable tackler, registered 87 of them out of 611 snaps, 8 tackles for loss, and he only allowed 1 touchdown in his coverage area. He continued on. He defeated blocks well in the box, and he was not a liability in coverage. Plenty of range to his game as well. So I appreciate him getting some love, and I do think Malcolm Rodriguez is reliable. He was playing through some pain sometimes, and he's always out there being a dog. And for a 6th-round draft pick, I have absolutely no problem with it, and I love the recognition he's getting. I would probably put there Kirby Joseph, but that's a little bit of bias there, right? I love me some Kirby Joseph. In the upcoming videos, we got videos dropping every single day. The One Pride Podcast Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Get ready for that. We're going to have a good time. With that said, folks, I'm going to leave you with the greatest words ever spoken. Adios.